this is what I saw when I was on my Etsy dashboard here. All right, so normally, like, they'll give you, like, a shop checklist or, like, announcements for stuff they want to tell you about. And I saw this week, and I was like, this is kind of interesting. So, to all of the shop owners, they will get this message. It says, tell Congress no unfair tax burdens for micro entrepreneurs. We're calling on the U.S. Congress to permanently increase the minimum tax reporting threshold for 1099-K forms. Will you join us? So it's like, okay, so Etsy's trying to get their shop owners to participate in politics. I'm like, okay. I'm like, whatever. So it says, and there's a little button and says, contact your representatives. All right, so I clicked on it, and here's what I got here. I get this little message, and it's like, so I found it kind of interesting that Etsy is trying to solicit all of the Etsy shop owners to reach out to Congress on their behalf. So it says, and it's like, act now, sign up with Facebook. And it's like, I don't know, it's like I guess you're supposed to this is going to be emailed to your local, congressperson or something. It says, Etsy sellers, tell Congress no unfair tax burdens for micro entrepreneurs. We're calling on the U.S. Congress to permanently increase the minimum tax reporting threshold for 1099-K forms. And I've reported on this before. I've done a few videos on it. In 2021, Congress passed a law that lowered the reporting threshold for 1099-K forms from $20,000 in 200 transactions to just $600 in one transaction. While this new threshold is yet to go into effect because of IRS delays, without a permanent solution, Etsy sellers could soon have to deal with an unnecessary burden when filing their taxes. Under the lower threshold, Etsy sellers would receive a new tax form for the first time ever for selling as little as one item, like a painting or custom furniture piece on our marketplace. Many makers spend significant resources and time creating items to sell on Etsy. However, 1099-K forms only take into account income made on an online marketplace and payment platforms, putting the burden on everyday sellers like you to show the amount of money they spent creating the items they sold to prove they don't owe any taxes. The Senate has an opportunity to act now to permanently raise the 1099-K tax reporting threshold to a more reasonable number that targets the people who owe taxes instead of harassing the people who don't. Will you join us in asking your senators to support casual sellers and come up with a legislative fix? So it's got this little thing, and it's like, you're supposed to write your senator, I'm writing today to urge blah, 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 blah. And it's got like a thing that Etsy's trying to help you submit this to your senator or congressperson or whatever. So I saw this, and I'll be honest with you, as a seller, this kind of rubbed me the wrong way that Etsy is trying to get all of these sellers, and a lot of sellers have some legitimate gripes with the platform, and I would say they don't have all love for Etsy. So it rubbed me the wrong way as a seller that Etsy is trying to get me to do the dirty work or the legwork for them to advocate to Congress on their behalf. Why don't they do it themselves? Why are they asking me, a small-time seller, to do the legwork to write to my congressperson or senator or whatever? I was like, I don't know. I just thought that was a little cringe. Sort of like how TikTok is doing it this week. They're trying to get all of the users to write to Congress on their behalf and stuff. And I'm like, guys, why are you asking the little people to do something for a corporation? Why would I want to go out of my way to make things easier for a corporation? That's where I was kind of I don't know, guys. So just my opinion. But, and the other thing, I was thinking about this too. So I've done a few shows about this, and I do agree with Etsy that I think the reporting threshold for the 1099-K form should be higher. I think $600 is going to encompass a lot of people who don't actually sell on any real scale. That's also going to get people who sold stuff on old stuff on Mercari or eBay, because $600 is a very small amount of money. So they're going to get it's going to create a lot of work for the IRS, for all of the people who sell old stuff on online platforms. But you know, so I can see why I think the threshold could be like, if they made it like $10,000 or $5,000, I think that would make more sense, because $600 could be someone that sold a couple old things on Mercari or eBay or Poshmark, and not someone who does it as a business. But here's where I have an issue with Etsy asking us to do this. So I kind of felt like from the wording on that messaging, I kind of felt like Etsy was trying to say, hey, like, here's the thing. Even if someone does get a 1099K form for the $600 on Etsy, that's something like them keeping track of their books and being able to show their expenses and like their profit and loss sheet and stuff. That's something an Etsy seller should be doing regardless, whether or not they get that 1099K form. And what that means is, it means you're an independent contractor. So you're not employed by Etsy. You are just using Etsy as a platform to sell. Etsy does not collect or remit income tax on your behalf. So you're supposed to be doing all of your own tax stuff. You're responsible for paying income taxes to the IRS if you're in the United States. But my problem with it is that I feel like Etsy is not, they're not pointing out the fact that Etsy sellers are supposed to be doing all of that anyways, regardless of if they get the form or not. Unfortunately, I've legit seen sellers on like Reddit and whatnot who don't understand that they have to pay taxes on money they earn even if they don't get a 1099K form. They think they're good as long as they don't get the tax form. That's not what the law is. You are supposed to be paying taxes on any profit you earn from the shop, regardless of the amount. So whether it's $600 or it's $20,000, like, again, I make less than $20,000 a year on Etsy, and I know that I am still supposed to be keeping track of all my expenses, and that I need to pay taxes on the money I earn even if I don't get the tax form, and I don't get the tax form. So I feel like Etsy is in kind of a backhanded way encouraging and not really spelling out to people that, hey, you're supposed to be doing this anyways. They're trying to make it look like, you know, I don't like that they're trying to make it look like this is an altruistic action they're doing to help out small sellers. No, that's not it. What Etsy is really trying to do is they don't want the headache of having to keep track of all of these transactions, and they don't want the extra legwork of issuing the 1099Ks because it's more work for them. But they're not doing it to help out small sellers. But they're like, we're just trying to, you know, we feel like this is an undue burden on micro entrepreneurs. Like, no, that's not what it is at all. Etsy just doesn't want to do the work of having to issue the 1099Ks. But whether or not, whatever the threshold is with the IRS, the small sellers are still supposed to be reporting the income, and they're still supposed to be reporting and keeping track of their income to report on their taxes. So that's my issue with this messaging, is that they're like, this is going to cause an undue burden on small handmade businesses. But no, guys, like, you're supposed to be doing this anyway. So that's what I'm trying to tell people, is that no matter if you make $600 with your shop or $600,000, you still need to run this as a business and keep track of all of the money you're spending, all of the money you're earning, and you are responsible for the taxes. So even if you don't get the tax form, basically the tax form just makes it harder for you to fly under the radar, but legally you are supposed to be paying income taxes on anything you earn, minus the expenses. So if I made $6,000 on my Etsy shop and my expenses were $3,000, I am supposed to be reporting and paying taxes on that $3,000 of profit. So that's the thing. Like, the 1099K form theoretically doesn't make it any easier or harder for Etsy sellers. The 1099K form just is more headache for Etsy. So I don't like that Etsy is trying to frame this like, we're trying to help you out, guys. They're not. They're trying to help themselves out, and that's the truth. So that's just my take on this. But I saw this, and I thought it was a little sketchy on Etsy's part, that they're trying to make it look like they're trying to help out the little guy, and they're not. So just my 2 cents.